So we're also looking, we think, at superior science that we have from our universities. We have world-class research institutions. We've got 9 major science research universities, 4 medical schools, and a vet school. Some of the names you may recognize: Wake Forest University, Duke University, of course North Carolina State, and our state system of the UNC system. These universities bring in over $1.5 billion of research every year to do biotech and other types of research. We also have a number of federal labs located in North Carolina that also do tremendous amounts of research that go into biotechnology. Right now, a little profile of our industry in North Carolina. You'll recognize a number of those names that are listed there on the right, multinational corporations that call North Carolina home. 560 companies that we have counted so far that are involved in R&D, clinical research, and also in manufacturing. And they employ over 58,000 employees. As I mentioned earlier, we do have offices across North Carolina that are really helping us develop biotechnology in each region. And it's based on the assets and the culture of each region, because we're kind of a long state, much like Ontario is very lengthy. We go east to west instead of north to south. And so we have distinct climate zones, distinct soils, distinct cultures, and distinct investment opportunities. So those regional offices are helping develop those unique assets in the various regions. And of course our headquarters is in RTP, which is that central star showing there. I've listed a few of the different institutions that do research that are major players in North Carolina. So let's look a little bit. I mentioned earlier that we've had a number of investments by the state of North Carolina in our programs. Last year, $100 million was invested by the state of North Carolina in biotechnology type programs in our educational systems, in our entrepreneurial support systems, and in research. And that has turned into over $1 billion that's been invested in North Carolina in the last 10 years. So I think all of this is evidence that we are committed to biotechnology, and we think that it's an answer for things that are occurring in our lives that are solutions to problems that we need to work on for the future. So one of the big things we do, that a word that many folks have heard me use, is we collaborate. That's one of the secret words that all of you probably do every day, but it's critical to economic development. And we do it with many different folks from every sector. Anybody that wants to buy in, that has interest, we collaborate with. So what that's translated to for North Carolina is that a lot of companies do market research and they publish rankings and report. Sometimes it doesn't mean a lot, but when it looks good, we like to talk about it. So what we've heard and what we've seen from some of these groups like the Milken Institute has said that North Carolina has the lowest cost of doing business in the U.S. We've been ranked by Site Selection Magazine 9 out of the last 10 years as the best business climate in the U.S. to start a company, and certainly in biotechnology. And then Ernst & Young for the last 8 or 9 years has ranked us number 3 in the U.S. So we've got a lot of good things that we've got going, but you have to maintain it. It's not something that just sits there on its own and percolates. You have to continue to work with it. What I'd like to do next is kind of go and transition to you about the project that I'm working on right now, which our president has asked me about a year ago to start working and putting together an initiative on agricultural biotechnology. And so this is an exciting opportunity for the state of North Carolina, and certainly for me. I'm really having a great time, and as one of our former agricultural commissioners used to say in North Carolina, I love my job. So I really do enjoy it. The little statement I have at the bottom about growing the intersection of agriculture and biotechnology is really where we're putting our focus right now. In North Carolina, agriculture is our largest and our oldest industry. Now, I may be the only person in the room that has actually plowed behind a horse and actually enjoyed it. But we really did that when I was growing up on a small farm in North Carolina. And so I'm showing this to you to emphasize one thing, and that's change. And that's something that as a speaker you can never go wrong in if you want to predict that we're going to have change, because we're always going to have change. And in my lifetime, we've gone from farming with horses all the way to farming with GPS. And so that's drastic change. So that's something that we all must embrace as we move forward with innovation and with economic development. So right now in North Carolina, agriculture is our largest, oldest industry with over $74 billion, and that's with a B, dollars of revenue at the consumer gate. Agriculture, I think, should always be viewed as a national defense industry, because you certainly don't want to turn over the production of food to people that may or may not like you. In the United States, if you look at every world war that's happened since the U.S. has existed, is that our government has always declared agriculture as a national defense industry, with the exception of the war that we're in now. So it's recognized that armies and defense depend upon keeping people's food supply viable. So as we look at these innovations and these technologies and realities, I think what we have started is something that's going to be certainly for the future. But if we had a crystal ball that we could look into and say, let's look at agriculture for the future. What's really going to be happening? I think one of the first things you need to do is keep in mind some of the words of this great American philosopher that many of you know, Yogi Berra of the New York Yankees. Yogi said, predictions are difficult, especially when they're about the future. So this brings us to something that is about our future in North Carolina. We call it the 30 and 10. The 30 and 10 means that our biggest, oldest industry, we're now going to be working with bringing biotechnology more and more into agriculture. And so we're focusing through a group that we pulled together with Governor Hunt about 2 years ago on a strategic plan that this represents to grow the ag biotech landscape in North Carolina. So that means taking agriculture from $74 billion to $104 billion in the next 4 years, or 10 years. So that's the 30 and 10. That's our intention, and that's what we're making as our goal. So there's no question that when I was farming, that we were under great pressure from all different sides, pressure from insects, disease, climate, costs, but I think it's also certainly evident that today's farmers are under those same pressures, but even more so from a global perspective. Everything today is global, as you all know. So the Earth's population, we're told by a survey from the United Nations, right now is nearly 7 billion people, and it's expected to reach 9 billion people in the next 30 years. So that means that farmers must meet that growing population demand for food and other materials with a shrinking resource base. Ask any farmer, they'll tell you. But they got to do this while they're still protecting the soil, the air, and the water and the environment. That's almost a seemingly impossible task.